Hello and welcome to Rambling Reviews, or whatever I'm calling this thing. I've already forgotten, which is not a good thing. Not the sign of a great title if you forget it almost immediately. I think I got it right. Rambling Review? Rambling Reviews? Yeah, Rambling Review of Infinity Train. We're doing episode 4, The Crystal Car, I believe. Another good one, but I would say probably the weakest of the ones I've seen thus far. For no reason other than that it didn't tell me. I didn't get as much new info out of this one, and it wasn't as funny. I didn't find the car and the circumstances of the plot of this one as sort of like unique and exciting and interesting as the previous three. It's just a car with crystals, and I mean, the actual premise behind this one is just a little bit flatter, a little bit. It still is funny, and it still is relatively innovative compared to like other television shows, but compared to what this show has already been doing, so it only falls flat in comparison to the previous 3 episodes. In comparison to 99% of television, it's still a brilliant piece of TV. So let's break it down a little bit. So for those who don't remember the plot of this one, basically it's a surprisingly straightforward one actually. Tulip goes into a car. It's a crystal sort of landscape. The door is high up. She can't get to it. And even when she... we'll get to that in a second. There's a being there that can't speak, but he tries to explain to her that if she sings to a rock, it'll... an emotional song, it'll work. So she starts using she overly logics it, and she starts doing like a diagram of like what different kinds of emotional songs you can get. She's got love songs, and she breaks them off into like different kinds of love songs, like unrequited love and all this stuff. And she goes through it and sings different kinds of all these different songs, and nothing that's stirring up enough emotion to make the rock react at all. So she gives up and decides to use her logic to build a ladder. But when she gets up to the door itself, it's locked. So she goes sort of back down and then learns from the being that couldn't talk, the crystal character, whose name I didn't... Oh, we don't catch his name because we wouldn't have given it. Is it in the credits? Is it another one of those ones where if I just check the credits, I'll see his name? I didn't even think to check the credits of this one. Hold for a second, guys. Oh no, he won't be in the credits because he doesn't have a voice. He probably had a name in the script, but he doesn't have a name. That's annoying. I'd have to Google to see what, like... I don't want to Google anything to do with the show. I'd have to Google to see what the creator has dubbed him. But anyway, the crystal guy in the it sort of indicates to Tulip that she would basically need to sing something that's emotional. So I've got the exact quote here. Actually, let me just read it. I thought I had to find a song that made the crystal feel something, but it has to be a song that's emotional for me. And then she remembers a road trip with her dad. It seems with her dad. It's a bit unclear, but there's obviously a family connection and a memory there, a fond memory associated with the song Word Up. And she sings that. And it's... I mean, a really funny moment. Because I really wasn't expecting it. Like, when she was singing, like, the only song I think it's kind of embarrassing. Like, it's not like an emotional song at all. It has emotional value to me because I'm associating it with a fun time with my family. I shouldn't say this, but this is implied. And she's just kind of embarrassed by it, but the music kicks in, and I honestly was like, nah, they're not going to sing Word Up. She's not going to sing Word Up. And like I could tell it was Word Up. The music is very iconic, and I'm like, they're not going to put Word Up in this show. They're just not. That would be ridiculous. That would be insane. And then she starts singing Word Up, and it's enough to get the this giant crystal guy to come along, put up a set of stairs in place, and unlock the door with this teeny tiny key. Well, teeny to him because he's a giant. It's kind of adorable. And he gives her like an okay sign with his hands, like, I like that one, good work. And then he leaves, and then they're away. It's slightly less consequential, I think, than the others. But definitely fun. And like that Word Up moment really is a great payoff. Like, again, it still is really good TV. I just wanted to put up front my the couple of negatives I had. I like that we are... I mean, so my initial theory was correct, that the number seems to shift, and it seems to be related to when she thinks about her past. So I'm starting to think my main theory about what's going on with the numbers now is that this is all about her family and her feelings about her family post this divorce, and thinking back on happier times when they were together. And I think there's going to be a big lesson to learn related to that, because the number seems to shift most frequently when it's stuff to do with her thinking about her either fun time spent with her dad or whatever. we've had that a couple of times now. There was one occasion I remember pointing out another episode where it wasn't related to that and the number shifted. So it's not the only reason. But what I like about... One thing I do like that this episode does is early in the episode, they come out of straight up Italy car, and I'll get back to that in a second, having helped someone and fought someone, which is two things that happened in the Corginia episode, the Corgi car episode, and no change to her number. So she's sort of doing the math on that and like eliminating what it could be. Okay, so I fought someone, I helped a person, that didn't change it. So neither of those two things were the reason this number changed last time it changed. At the end of my encounter with the steward, in Corginia. So I will say the character is growing on me, because I mentioned in the first two episodes I found her a little bit irritating. She's yelling in a less obnoxiously I'm a teenager way now. She's sort of softening, which is nice. That's helping a lot. But also I do really like... We've never had one of these mystery shows where the character is so focused on solving the mystery. Like, you look back at Steven Universe, Steven just fell into answers occasionally. Like, he'd never ask questions. Very rarely did he, like, deliberately go seeking information. Only one or two occasions. It was infrequent. Whereas all she wants is answers. And that's really interesting. And the way she's going about it is very sort of logical and very sort of thorough. And look at Over the Garden Wall as well. I mean, those two kids, like, they didn't ask anywhere near the number of questions they should have asked. There's a beast. Okay, we'll deal with that, I guess. Like, no one's going, why is there a beast? How is there a beast? Where are we? How do we get home? Like, well, I mean, I think he's asking how they get home, but like, he's not asking practical questions about the world around them. Why are there skeletons that are alive? Like, he doesn't ask those. And Greg don't ask those questions, and they probably should. And I really like having such a proactive protagonist who's going, wait a minute, the world I'm in is nuts. Not only am I going to acknowledge that, but I'm going to try and identify the rules of this world. So I feel like I'm on that journey with her, because I felt you feel kind of separate to Steven and Wirt and Greg in those shows, because you're trying to figure out what's going on, but they don't seem that invested in that. Whereas she thinks getting out of getting off this train is very much going to be linked to her ability to suss out what's happening. And I like how thorough she's being. I love the notebook. And this is the first time I know she's used the notebook a couple of times, obviously, in previous episodes. This is the first time I noticed that the little rubber thing on the end is an onion. Very cute. And obviously she mentions again in this episode she loves onions. We, in the very first episode, saw her eating an onion. I didn't comment on that in my piece about it, but gross. Just gross. Onion is my nemesis. I hate onion in all its forms. So, maybe that was my initial dislike for Tulip, was just straight up my dislike for onion manifesting in a human being. Who knows? So I just really am enjoying a character being like, okay, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? And the notebook idea and her sort of bookish approach to it and her thorough approach to it, using like the process of elimination to figure it out. We do get a nice little thing at the beginning of the episode as well, where a bunch of the cars she's been in are listed and she's named them, and some of them are ones we know about, some of the ones we aren't. It's not a complete list because it's missing the Corgi car for a start, which is an episode one and a whole episode placing. So there's a couple missing, which is good, because I think if everyone we'd seen so far was in there, I'd go, well, wait a minute, there was a point when a week passed. Where are all the potentially dozens, hundreds of cars she might have travelled through in the course of a week? But yeah, so we, in order, in her notebook, we got the grid car, the monkey bars car, the friendly eyeballs car, so we saw the grid car, we didn't see monkey bars or friendly eyeballs. The crossword car and the pinball car we saw. Mannequin car we never saw. Water car could be the beach car. Could be the one that we had in the with the water guy with my friend Randall, my good buddy Randall. Keyboard car, which I think could be the music one from the previous episode, from the Corgi episode. Hold music car, which I just wish I'd seen. I'm assuming some of these are just ideas for cars they had that they never got to fit in episodes. Flying fish car, that was a good one. Keyboard car. Cross-eyed ducks car, which we did see. Keyboard car could be the music car, actually. Monster mask car. which, yeah, we had that mass monster. Oh, no, Kogi car is listed, so it's just the beach one that isn't, which I guess could be the water car. Huh. The kombucha car, the bat instead of bees car. Yeah, so beach car is kind of missing, but could be the water car. If that's the case, and the water car is supposed to be the beach car, this is disappointing, because there is a weird thing of, there was a point when she was on here for a week that we didn't see. There should be dozens of these things, or at least a handful, of ones we haven't seen. Well, then again, there are a handful of ones we haven't seen, but yeah, and they don't seem to be any particular order. Like, in some points, they are clearly in the order she went into them, but in some of them, they're not. So it's a bit all over the place. But that's, and then the final one, which we see at the beginning of this episode, is a straight-up Italy car, which I really enjoyed, because it is, because honestly, I was like, this one's just Italy then. Like, that was my honest thought. And then when she came out and literally wrote straight up Italy car, I was like, chef's kiss, magnifique, perfect. So I like her a lot more in this episode. Not sure, other than jokes, I'm not sure really what Atticus is adding to the situation. We already had 1-1 for that, but we'll see going forward. He did twice suggest she slept, and she slept, and she pointed out, like, it's kind of weird you keep asking me to sleep, and he's like, oh, I'm a dog. And I was like, I can't tell if that's supposed to be a joke or if they're actually hinting at something else there, and maybe he does have some ulterior motive, or maybe I'm just reading into it because I know what these shows are like and they like to hide stuff in plain sight. God, maybe Atticus is the conductor. Anyone could be the conductor. Anyone I see now, I'm going to think they're the conductor after my little breakdown at the end of the last episode. Basically accusing everyone of being the conductor. Because I am fairly convinced there's nothing at the front of this train. That feels like the right emotional beat to go down. Because that would be quite a distraught. That could be very distracted. You feel very distraught if you spent all this time moving through the carriages. Get to the front and there was nothing there. So I'm pretty convinced that's going to be the case. I can even picture it because they keep cutting to that establishing shot of the train tracking through that sort of like weird other dimensional desert, and I can sort of I can imagine that shot without the train stretching into the future and just seeing the plane stretching into the future, into the into the distance, and instead being at the front of it. I've just got that shot in my head. I can't I can't shake that. That's probably where they're going to go with it. But yeah, anyone could be the conductor. I am now more convinced than ever, though, that 1-1 is a part of this, because they did that thing. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a trope now to have like a character who's kind of a bit like all over the place and a bit not with it, or a bit like sort of easily distracted, like the Greg archetype from Over the Garden Wall, which is like a character that's just like not interested in your mystery, not interested in anything, just like says non sequiturs, like funny stuff, and like is just there for having fun and like doing weird stuff. And like these sort of characters exist a lot in these shows. They're very good for pretty easy, straightforward comedy, but they like to sometimes hide real info in them because you stop taking them seriously, and then that's when they say something interesting. And there's a joke where 1-1 says they're talking about I can't remember what they're talking about, but he says, like my spindly-legged friend in Colginia. To which Tula replies, that wasn't your friend. And he's like, was it my mum? She's like, it was trying to hurt us. And he says, the question stands. That's great. To me, that's clever, because I think that is backing up my theory that 1-1 is somehow part of the train. The bit that I think is correct there is the fact that he referred to the spindly friend that we know as the steward from the credits. They know each other. They're friendly to some degree. And that backs up with my... Well, I don't know why the steward would have run away from 1-1. But yeah, that's... Yeah. Favorite line of the episode, definitely, you never take my psychosomatic condition seriously. That's just funny writing. I also like that they did a mini version of Tulip's wider issue through the arc of this, and that's the second time they've done this, where like there's a mini version of the arc in the arc. So like in the beach car episode, she was forced to choose between the daisy that she'd been given lovingly by 1-1 and the gear that she needed to progress on her thing, and then again later 1-1's affection and 1-1 himself up for grabs for a chance to get the cat to the end of the train, to get the conductor to help her out. So like there's a mini version of her dilemma baked into the plot of the episode. And they did the same thing here, because the wider thing is that she wants to figure out more stuff about what's going on. As she says in this one, she doesn't even know how time works on the dumb train, so she's getting quite frustrated. And in this episode, we sort of test that, because she's taking the logical approach to the singing problem by singing all the different songs and calculating all the genres and trying to figure it out. But in reality, you can't brute force these things. It's actually more about, well, in this case, it's more about feeling it out properly and not just thinking about logic, but actually thinking about your feelings. And I think that's because that's what this is sort of trying to teach her, is to be more in touch with her emotions rather than just thinking of everything as ones and zeros, and problems to be solved. Not everything is coding. Not everything can be fixed when it comes to human interaction. And I think there's themes of that running throughout all of this. The opening episode, she had a game that wasn't working. She changed some lines of code and fixed it. And I feel like she keeps thinking she can do that with her life, and I think that's part of what we're trying to learn here. So I like these microcosm stories that are like giving us like a sample of what the larger themes are, like on a smaller scale. So yeah, and then obviously when that doesn't work, she once again shifts to a logical answer, which is the ladder, and that doesn't work either. So yeah, and then of course, the number at the end changes. It drops to 89. Again, I'm convinced that all of this is tied to her feelings about her family and the divorce itself, and it's all mushed in with her gaming stuff. So I think very much she is so directly related to this world that if she isn't somehow its creator, I'd be surprised. And I don't even necessarily mean like literally, or like when you get into this world, whatever it is, your mind helps define how the world works and looks and feels. That's part of my thinking. But yeah, really great. So again, the weakest of the episodes I've seen, but by no means an insult. Yeah. It's great. It's a really good show. I'm excited to keep watching. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. Hear me ramble. Come back tomorrow to hear me ramble about the next episode. So yeah, thanks very much for listening, and come back tomorrow to hear me talk about the Cat's car. Which, slight speculation, I think the cat's coming back. I know, right? Planting a flag in that one. See you tomorrow.